good to be here, and it really feels like I'm with family. It's not just because it's the theme of the retreat, it's because Pastor Brian is a really dear friend of ours, but it feels like I'm here with family. And so before I share, I just want to open this up in prayer, if that's okay? Yeah? Heavenly Father, I'm so humbled by you. I'm so humbled by your love, Father, by your faithfulness. God, that you take dust and ashes and turn it into beauty. God, you take the most pained and broken parts of our lives, and you turn it into a story, God, a testimony of your love. And Father, I know that I stand here only today because of your love. God, that you give me the words to speak, God, the songs in my heart, God, because of your love. So Father, I just pray over our students here in this room, God, who often feel alone, who feel that they're in this journey alone, who feel that they can't make it. And I just pray, God, that the story you've written for me in my life would be a testimony for them. And I pray, God, that it will just bring you glory and spark hope and joy into our hearts. So we thank you and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Alright. So I was just asked by Pastor Brian to kind of just share a testimony of my journey. And I had prepared stuff, and right before coming up here as we were worshiping, I just felt the Father remind me again just to share about His love. And I can confidently say that when I look at myself right now, when I look at how I stand here before all of you, when I look over at my handsome husband over there, when I look over at the dear friends that I have in my life, when I look over at you guys, when I see the voice that He's given me, I am so confident that it's the love of God that has transformed my life. I am not who I am today by my own strength and my own merits. But the love of God has transformed me inside and out. And at times that love of God has looked like powerful one-on-one encounters with Jesus. And a lot of other times the love of God has looked like dear friends coming alongside and weeping with me. And if it weren't for powerful encounters of Jesus, and the community that walks with me and has walked with me through some of the darkest, most triumphal times of my life, I know that I will not have made it today. And we need powerful encounters with Jesus, and I've had those encounters, but what I'm convinced has sustained my fire and my love for God have been the brothers and sisters and the mothers and fathers in faith who have walked with me, journeying with me throughout life. When I was younger, like many of you, I grew up in a very broken family. There was a lot of abuse of alcohol, emotional, physical, verbal abuse. My father lived in Korea and traveled back and forth from Korea to the States. And I grew up very, very independent. I think because I saw so much turmoil in the house, I realized quickly at an early age that I needed to protect myself. And so I made a decision one day when I was sick and tired of crying that I was no longer going to shed a tear. I said I wanted to be strong and that I was no longer going to be weak, and weakness looked like crying, so I was going to stop crying, I was going to shut off all of my emotions, and I was just going to be cold, and I was going to be self-sufficient and need no one. And so I did that. But quickly that took me down a path of deep darkness, oppression, depression, but no one else knew the real me. And I wasn't sure how to be honest before anyone, not even before the Lord. And it wasn't until I went into college that God began a really deep work of integrating in my life that required people, that required friendship, that required sisters who would weep with me. I still remember to this day, the summer of 2011, I went to a Panama mission trip. And that summer, I had just a personal and powerful encounter with Jesus where I felt, and I just saw him coming down on his knees and washing my feet. And began healing me and everything that I had experienced, all the hardship, all the darkness, all the pain that I had experienced in my life. And that love that I felt in the moment that I encountered Jesus was so great that love after that moment, every time I looked around at the world, I felt like it was a whole new world. Like, I don't know if you guys ever had that moment before where, like, after experiencing encountering Jesus, you look out and the skies look more blue. Like, you feel like the birds are singing a song. Like I was so romanced by Jesus, and I felt like, man, this love is so great. This love is powerful enough to zap away all the pain that I've experienced for all 18, 19 years of my life, and I should be good. But then it wasn't until I came back from mission, that I realized that, it's actually not enough just to have those personal encounters with Jesus. God was beginning a deeper work of healing that required community. In the book of James, he writes that confess your sins to one another and then you will be healed. I don't know if you've ever read that passage before, but that was the testament of my college years. As I began to share with sisters and began to really open up about things that had haunted me for years, pains that I've experienced in my family that I'd never shared with anyone before, when I began to experience a manifestation of, sustained healing in my life. I had, never talked or expressed about my feelings. That I didn't even know, what I was feeling or how to articulate the emotions I would feel. And so there was a friend, I clearly remember, she's still a good friend of mine today, where she helped me kind of process my emotions. I would talk in colors, and she would articulate what those colors meant. And I would kind of be like, today I think a little bit purpley, and then she'd be like, purpley, does that mean and she had to literally take me baby steps, because I didn't know how to get there. But little by little, as these friends came alongside my life, as I began to open up my pains and really take away the fear and step past my fear and step out in faith and share my deepest struggles, God began a deep work of healing in my life. And then when I fast forward and I graduated undergrad, and that year, I got a call from Korea and found out that my father was diagnosed with cancer. And he had kept that secret to himself the past couple years and didn't tell any of us. And eventually, a decision I felt that God really was calling me to make was to lay aside everything else that I was doing here in the States and move to Korea for one simple call, and that was just to love on him. And so I kind of dropped everything that I was doing here in the Bay Area and I moved over to Korea, which began 2 years of the darkest, most difficult, most painful years of my life. My father's cancer continued to grow worse, and my life was just go to hospital, stay at home, go to hospital, stay at home, stay up at night, take care of my dad, wake up in the morning, take care of my dad. It grew so bad to the point where there was a period for over 2 weeks I was getting bloody noses up to 5 times a day, and I was in so much pain and so much agony, and to the point where I felt that the bruises that I was experiencing in my heart, I just didn't know how ever that would be healed again. And throughout that season of just by myself in Korea, having no friends, there were select people in my life who continued to reach out to me. And I remember that summer, and eventually one summer my dad passed away, and I was just in a really dark place. Everything that I had experienced burned in me, was gone. Whether it be my desires, my passions, my dreams, there was nothing that was good that was left in me. And eventually I came and moved to SoCal to start seminary in 2016. And once I got plugged back into community, that's when I met Pastor Brian, really grew a friendship with Pastor Sarah. And as I started growing within the body again, I began to have a space to heal. But that summer, I remember clearly getting a call from my mom, this time in Korea, who was hospitalized again, and I had to drop all my plans for a mission that summer and all my other plans that I had and go back to Korea. And when I was there this time, I thought I had lost all hope and was afraid that like I was never going to be able to go back. But I remember when I was debating whether or not I should go back for Mexico missions, I was really hesitant because I didn't want to do anything anymore. And Pastor Brian, actually, I remember he had messaged me when I was in Korea. And he just said something like, you know, like, I know, like, you're going through a hard time, and, like, I'm not saying this just as a member of, like, a missions organization or someone who supports this organization, just wants you to come to serve with us. But as a friend and as a brother, I really believe and think that it would be good for you to come to Mexico and just to be there and to receive, and I think you should really pray about it. And that coupled with my mom's prayers was kind of all the tug that I needed to make this decision to come back and go to Mexico missions that summer, where I had another like supernatural encounter with Jesus that just like all the pain and the grieving that I experienced in the past 2 years, I felt like he just began to bring out of me. And then when I look back at the past couple years, my journey to healing really only took place because of the people in my life. It required that initial agape, crazy love and encounter with Jesus, but what brought about fullness to that healing, what brought about color to that healing, was really the people that God placed in my life. The directors and the mentors and the pastors and the friends who wept with me when I needed to weep, who were there to hear me when all I needed to do was just kind of process and share. And I used to think that the Christian life and the Christian journey was all about just running fast. I thought that if you just sprint super fast alone, then you'll make it. But it wasn't until I started experiencing darkness and hardships and trials that I realized that like, maybe that's not what it's all about. I want to read a passage in Hebrews. You don't have to turn there, I can just read it for us. I feel like it captures it so well what I learned in the past couple of years. Hebrews chapter 12 says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance," key word right there, endurance, "the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God." And God really taught me that the key to endurance, to longevity in the race and the journey of the kingdom of God is community. That you can only run long and hard after Jesus if you have people who are there to run with you. People who, when you have a broken leg, that may look like a spiritual, like you have a spiritual broken leg, who can be there to carry you until you're all better. Who won't look at you with a broken arm and say, "Why can't you carry this?" But will say, "Hey, until you're better, until you're strong enough, I'm going to carry this with you." And for some of you, maybe, like myself, you've been stunted in your growth because you haven't had those kind of people in your life. Maybe you've had those encounters, but you've had no one to keep running with. But my testimony has just been time and time again that the love of God transforms our lives. The love of God, the relationship that we have vertically between us and the Lord transforms our lives. But what sustains that is our community, is our brothers and sisters, our family that we can do it with. And so that's just a bit of something that I wanted to share. But before I close, I just want to pray over some of you who maybe feel that you can relate. And I just want to pray a blessing and a prayer that God will provide for you. And if you feel like, this is something that you struggle with and you desire, you've been wanting to have a community or a family of friends that can really be by your side and walk with you. If we can all just close our eyes, and I just want to pray. And if that's you, if that's really you, just put your hand on your heart, and I just want to lift up a prayer, a blessing for you. And to cover you, because we're not meant to run this race alone. We're really not. We need the people next to you, the girl, the guy sitting right next to you. That's who you need to keep running this race. We need to look to Jesus, and we need to look together. And so that's you. I just want to put your hand on your heart, and I just want to pray a blessing over you. Father, I thank you so much that, God, we don't need to be perfect people to have friendship, to have brothers and sisters in our life, to have community. We don't need to be all patched up. We don't need to be all healed before we can extend ourselves to one another, God. But Lord, it's actually in our brokenness, it's in our sinfulness, it's in our wreck, it's in our mess that we're called to give ourselves to one another. And I just pray, God, that as you have provided friendships, pastors, leaders, dear friends, God, in my life, God, to walk with me, I pray that same blessing, God, 100-fold over our brothers and sisters here in this room. I pray over this youth group in Emmanuel, God, that there would be, God, a family that is birthed here from this place. God, that there would be a safety and a grace to be real with each other, to share the mess with each other, to not feel like they need to be polished before one another, God, but just, Lord, the loneliness that they feel, that they would learn to be that friend to one another, God. I pray, help us to be good listeners, help us to be good lovers, and help us to be family. So Father, bless this church, and we love you, Lord. Thank you for all that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hannah, my wife. I get really blessed whenever she speaks, just because she's more, she can speak to the heart better than I can. I hope you guys were really blessed. Well, my name is Pastor Chris. I actually lived in NorCal before, for about 12 years. How many of you guys know Livermore? Anybody? Okay, wow, I'm surprised this many of you guys know Livermore. I lived there since, I think I was second grade, and then until senior or sophomore, senior-ish. And, you know, there's nothing good or fun to do in Livermore, as you guys know. A couple of years ago, they built this outlet, right? It's called San Francisco Outlet, but it's nowhere near San Francisco. And for Halloween, what we used to do is we used to go to the corn maze. And I told my wife for Halloween, for fun, we used to go to corn maze. She's like, corn maze? I've never even gone to a corn maze, but that's something that we used to do. And I went to church in Hayward. I don't know if you guys know Crossway Church. Church just like this? Oh my goodness. His dad is currently the senior pastor over there. And so I was like, what are you doing here? and DJ, or Daniel, where are you at? Right there. Yeah, he is crazy. He was in like elementary school when I was in high school. And now I see him here and he's serving as a teacher. He couldn't pronounce my name when he was like a little kid. He used to always say Quiz. And then there used to be Walgreens, like, you know, a couple steps away from our church, and he used to be like, hey Quiz, can you give me Walgreens? You know? But anyways, you know, I'm so glad to be here. I love serving with friends. Pastor Brian, Joanna, Pastor Jed, my wife. And something that I want to talk to you guys about today is unity, the church, right? But not only the church, but learning how to use our gifts for the sake of unity. Learning how to use our gifts for the sake of building the church together. And, you know, we couldn't be here from the beginning because I was actually spending time with my wife's family in Seattle. And, you know, we were with her grandparents and my brother-in-law and his wife. And as we were spending time together, I started to realize, man, like, we're so different. The way I'm wired, the way she's wired, the way my brother-in-law is wired, the way my family is wired, the things that we like, and even the upbringing is so different. And through that time, I got to see like a lot of differences, right? And my wife, let me tell you something about Hannah. She's really different from me. When it comes to family, she's like a phenomenal rider, right? And she loves to ride cars to my parents. And when I try to write Korean, it looks like a second grader trying to write Korean. It's horrible. But when she writes, it's not only like the quality, but the things that she puts on the card is just phenomenal, right? And another thing that she's good at is that she's good at socializing. She knows the right questions to ask, even to like our students in ministry, and the way she interacts with my family members. And when we were spending time in Seattle, something that we were together, and I spent about 4 days with them, and we went to this place called Leavenworth, right? Leavenworth. It's in Seattle. It's about 2 hours away from the city, and her brother used to be like a tour guide around Seattle, and he loves driving. And so for me, right, I love driving too, because I get to kind of reflect, I get to, I'd rather just drive than sit in the passenger seat. And something that I offered him was, hey, like, you've been driving all day, let me drive, right? And let me ask you guys something, okay? Think about this. Because it kind of sounds weird to say I have a passion for driving, but just say that, right? Let's say I have a passion for driving, right? I love driving. I would say I'm like pretty gifted. I only got into accident once, okay? And that's because after 7 kilo, I was so tired. I pulled up, I just like exited to a random stop, and I stopped at the light. But because I was so tired, I accidentally like stepped on the accelerator, and I crashed into the car in front of me, and that car in front of me crashed into. So it was like a 3-car accident, right? It was horrible. But so while I was in Seattle, I was spending time with them. Did I offer to drive because I wanted to show off driving?
No.
Why would I do that, right? But I offered to drive because I wanted him to get rest, right? I wanted him to sleep, and I wanted him to kind of like, because he was kind of complaining about his neck, because he got so like, I don't know, he got like wrong sleep or something, he slept in the wrong way. And so I offered to drive, because why? Because I also cared about him. And I loved him, right? And so in the process of that, what tends to happen is that it brings us closer in a certain way, right? When I offer to drive, when I say, hey, like, let me do this for you, let me do that for you, it creates some kind of bond and unity. And during Thanksgiving, she got to spend time with my family. And we were just up at night, we were, snacking on things, and we were talking. And she was just, she could have gotten sleep early, but she stayed up to talk to my brother and my sister-in-law and my cousins. And it was just, while I was kind of witnessing everything, I was like, wow, like she's using her gifts to bring more unity with the family. And that's something that I want to talk about. Let's put it into the context of church.